My normal beat here on the Death Channel isn't celebrity news or murders or scandals. I'm not gonna cover like Charles Manson or something. But you know what I do love? Determining legal control over disposition of a corpse in the state of California. Woo! You think I'm kidding? That's like half your job as a funeral director. Listen up, aspiring death workers. Here's a preview of your life. Okay, so you're Mr. Smith's sister and you want to pay for his cremation, but it's his nephew's cousin that has the durable power of attorney for healthcare? And who happens to have the biggest story about determining legal control of disposition of a corpse in the state of California possibly ever? That would be Charles Manson. Quick primer on Charles Manson. He was a cult leader who, in the late 1960s, formed a commune of followers in California called the Manson family. The Manson family may have killed over 35 people, but most cases were never tried due to the lack of evidence. In the summer of 1969, the Manson family murdered 9 people, most famously the actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant and the wife of director Roman Polanski. Manson believed that the murders of Hollywood's white, quote, beautiful people would ignite the Armageddon race war he called Helter Skelter. Charles Manson was imprisoned for first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in 1971 and sentenced to death. He was resentenced in 1972 and 1977, his eventual sentence being life without parole. On November 19th, 2017, Manson died of natural causes in the custody of the California Department of Corrections. My first thought was, what are they gonna do with this guy? Does anybody want him? Yeah, turns out Manson had 3 different people fighting over his refrigerated remains. By January of 2018, Manson had been in cold storage for 2 months. Interested parties, that is, people interested in obtaining his corpse, were making their case to the Kern County coroner. Eventually, the coroner filed a petition to the court for, quote, instructions regarding the disposition of the remains of Charles Manson. Basically, the coroner told the court, like, you deal with it. So, let's meet the players. Jason Freeman. On January 30th, a man claiming to be Manson's grandson filed a response to the petition. Since Manson's death, Freeman had been fighting for Manson's body. Freeman is the son of Charles Manson Jr., aka Jay White, one of 4 alleged sons of Manson. Freeman laid claim to Grandpa Manson's remains, calling it a family matter, and expressed a desire to give him a proper burial. On the same day that Freeman filed his petition, a man named Michael J. Brunner filed a competing petition for control of Manson's body. Born Valentine Manson, aka Pooh Bear, oh, cult names. Brunner claimed to be the son of Manson and Manson family member Mary Brunner. So those are the alleged relatives. We also have 2 wills presented to the court, one by a Michael Channels and one by the duo of Benjamin Gurecki and Matthew Lentz. So Channels wasn't related to Manson, but had cultivated a 30-year friendship with him while he was in prison. The Channels will was dated February 14th, 2002, and although the court found that it hadn't exactly been done properly, it seemed to indicate that Manson wanted to leave his estate and remains to Channels. The second will, presented by Gurecki and Lentz, claimed Gurecki as the executor of the estate and Lentz as Manson's beneficiary, as he also claimed to be a son of Manson. But the Lentz will didn't mention Manson's body, only his estate. Alright, at this point you might be asking, what's so great about Charles Manson's estate? Well, Manson's possessions are murderabilia that collectors might be willing to pay top dollar for. He was a heinous dude, but also a counterculture icon, and unfortunately the public has selective memory. But back to the corpse battle. The law in California creates a priority list to decide who gets control of the dead body and who gets to make decisions about the burial or cremation. Ooh, I know, it's section 7100 of the Health and Safety Code. You don't care about that, I get it. The person with the highest priority is the deceased person themselves. They can leave binding instructions as long as 1, they're in writing, and 2, they're clear, complete, and with sufficient detail. If the decedent didn't leave instructions or assign someone to be their durable power of attorney for healthcare, then the state gives the body to the spouse. If there's no spouse, then the kids. If there are no kids, then the parents, then to the siblings, and so on and so on and so on, until you get to your third cousin, Carl. Manson died without a spouse, and with 2 people claiming to be his son and 1 claiming to be his grandson. But there was also a will that mentioned his remains. If the will was good, then whatever Manson's instructions were would control. If it wasn't good, then the court would have to figure out who was related to Manson and who wasn't. Lentz and Brunner's son claims were dismissed after it was revealed that they were both adopted by other families. The court didn't even address whether or not they were Manson's biological sons, because in California, if you're adopted, your legal relationship with your biological parent is severed. So basically, it didn't matter whether or not they were biologically his sons, because legally, they were no longer his sons. The Channel's will was dismissed for a couple of reasons. There were parts that weren't readable, and the instructions about the remains weren't clear. Plus, they messed up one of the most fundamental requirements of a will, the witnesses. So even if it was Manson's actual will, they botched it. In the end, it was the purported grandson, Jason Freeman, who won control over Manson's remains, essentially because he was the last man standing. Congrats! The court didn't even try to figure out whether he is actually Manson's grandson. The other candidates had been eliminated, his body had been sitting in cold storage for 4 months, and the state of California was like, just take it away. On Saturday, March 17th, Freeman held a funeral for Manson, who, after being kept on ice for months, was starting to decompose. After the open casket service in Porterville, California, Manson's corpse was cremated, and his cremated remains were scattered in a forest before the 30 people who attended his funeral. According to that bastion of hard-hitting journalism, TMZ, the cremated remains blew back in the faces of the gathered mourners. Before I fully turn into this glowing orb of sun, I want to give a big thanks to Tanya Marsh, who is a professor at Wake Forest Law School and the country's leading expert in human remains law, for translating a lot of the legalese of this case for us and guiding us through the nitty-gritty of the battle. Check out her excellent blog on funeral and cemetery law, deathcarestudies.com, linked below. I become one with the sun. This video was made with generous donations from death enthusiasts just like you. Womp womp, womp womp, womp womp, womp womp, womp.